Welcome to Rpv City Talk. Rpv City Talk is brought to you by the City of Rancho Palos Verdes to inform the community on recent city matters. Rpv City Talk is a weekly show that features the Rpv Mayor, City Council, or City employees.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz Brown Swanson and welcome to a special edition of Rpv City Talk on the road. I'm here at the beautiful Trump National Golf Club with the Mayor of Rancho Palos Verdes, Mayor Brian Campbell. It is great to be here with you. Happy New Year and all of that.
Happy New Year to you too. It's awesome to be here.
Well, thank you for serving our community as always, and how great to be here at Trump. You just got back from Washington, D.C. You
Yes.
went to the inauguration.
Yes.
How incredibly special. Talk about that for you.
First off, it was much larger and spectacular and epic than I had expected. The distances between the buildings, the widths of the grounds where hundreds of thousands of people had to go, the security precautions, the air cover, the vehicles. It was an epic exposition of one of the greatest events that probably this world's ever seen. Is the most powerful country in the world transferring peacefully power from one party to another. It was an honor to be there. It was an honor to represent the city. And the next inauguration, whoever the president is, I very much would like to bring my children back there and experience this as well.
I know while you were there, your wife Susie was right here at Trump National where they had a big celebration. And we were talking about the fact, whatever your politics are, I mean, we have an organization with Donald Trump, our president's name on it, and that means a lot in this community. It also brings with it now added concerns about security and all of that. Talk a little bit about what it's like now to have this facility here still with that he's president.
Well, it's interesting because we've got a unique opportunity as a city in that the members of this city council all know the president. I've had an opportunity to work closely with him over the last 7 years because when I was first elected in 2009, there was great difficulties between the Trump organization and the city with the previous city council. I had the opportunity, thanks to my colleagues on the council at the time, to take the lead in reaching out to the Trump organization to see if we could work through these issues, which we successfully did over a period of about 2.5 years. As a result of that, there was what has come out of that is a high degree of trust between the Trump organization and our local government and our community, and we enjoy a terrific relationship with their organization to this day.
And it's great to be here.
Yes, absolutely great to be here. With Mr. Trump now becoming President Trump, it now presents a different set of challenges that we have going forward, because even though he is completely separated now from his company, the name still is here at the golf course, and from a security standpoint, there's a different level of complexity that our local sheriff's department and our city government needs to address going forward to ensure that that we keep the public safety degree where it needs to be.
And since we're talking about that, we'll segue into that as the top priority. One of the top priorities for you as mayor and as the city's goals is public safety.
Yes.
Talk about the challenges and just sort of the focus and just making sure we continue to step up our efforts to keep our residents safe.
I'm very pleased that over the last couple of years, the city government, city council has aggressively instituted and been very proactive over the last 2 years, increasing our sheriff's deputies on patrol, increasing the type of technology that we've deployed out there, such as the ALPR license plate readers, and also the connection that the Sheriff's Department has with the community. It's very good. We've got a terrific captain, Captain Behringer now, that runs the Lomita Station, and I haven't seen this good of a relationship between our sheriff's department and our community in many years. Now, this didn't happen overnight. It started happening with Captain Boland before that, who's been promoted. But the sheriff's department has been absolutely top-notch to work with. They can't be everywhere. It's not news that California and much of the country has experienced an upsurge in criminal activity. Certainly in California, with the passing of some of the initiatives where we allow early release of criminals that in the past would not have happened. They're out on the streets now, and it's difficult to stay on top of that. I happen to think, despite the increase in crime, that it would have been much, much worse had it not been for the Herculean efforts that the Sheriff's Department has deployed.
And I think too, I mean, you've been on the council for many years now. We're sitting here at Trump looking at this beautiful view.
Yeah.
We live in an amazing community that is still one of the safest in the state, but yet you got to keep your guard up, and you got to have like the neighborhood watch groups and everybody sort of stepping up, because it's a very different day now.
You're absolutely right. And one of the keys to success here is the collaboration with Neighborhood Watch, with the homeowners associations, with our fellow public agencies, the school district. The more information sharing we have, the more collaboration that we have, the faster we push information out to the public when a criminal event is going on, the safer our community will be. We can make some improvements in those areas. Right now, the information flow is slower than I would like to have it. I would like to expand that up and address many of the social media platforms and other ways of communication with the public, so that they'll know faster what's going on. They'll have better information, and they can then take their own precautions when it comes to protecting their neighborhoods.
There's a lot of resources out there for residents to just stay in the know, whether you sign up, you go onto the Sheriff's Department website or the city's website, but you can never do enough to keep those communication lines open. So that's sort of one of your priorities, you're saying, going forward.
Absolutely, much more collaboration, and this isn't something that you can institute some change and then leave it as is. It is an ongoing, evolving process of utilizing different communication methods and experimenting with different ways to communicate and collaborate that we've always got to stay on top of.
Mm-hmm. Let's switch gears now over to some of the priorities of the city when it comes to infrastructure and big projects down the pipeline. We're hearing a lot of talk about Portuguese band landslide, and that's a big ticket item. There's talk right now about maybe building a civic center, rebuilding Ladera Linda. Talk about sort of the priorities, how the council is deciding like what projects we're going to put forward in the next upcoming year. Like what's going on there?
There's a lot of talk about rebuilding Ladera Linda, but what does that mean? Does it mean just replacing the buildings that are there now? Does it mean building a different type of building? Does it mean increasing the type of usage or traffic that's going to go out there? I think we need to approach any of these projects from a bottom-up approach, which is think of a concentric circle. Listen the most to the residents and the neighborhoods that are going to be most immediately impacted by whatever it is that we do, and then build on those concentric circles to get input from the rest of the community. What's the greater good of the community, but will that greater good dramatically impact the local neighbors, in this example, around Ladera Linda? So we need to make sure that the community is very much involved and feels like they've got a solid stake in what decisions are made. This should not be driven from the top down. It shouldn't be driven, for example, by the city council or the mayor as to what I think is right out there. We're representatives of the people. We're not dictators. We don't dictate to them. I very much believe in that concept. And slower is better when you're looking at big infrastructure changes. When you talk about the city hall site, that is a massive site up there. That's 70 plus acres up there. There's various different restrictions on components of that land that have got to get state approval or federal approval or county approval. And when we say a new city hall, are we talking about just new city offices? Or are we talking about community swimming pools and tennis courts and gathering areas and amphitheaters and things like this? So in my opinion, we've got a long ways to go before we reach some sort of consensus as to what is the best use of the City Hall site.
I think the survey, by the way, this was the deadline today of the first survey that was mailed out. I know I got one as a resident asking what your thoughts are about what should happen at that site, right? You're just trying to get a feel for what the community might be interested in. Is that just the beginning?
Well, and there's portions of the community out there that think it's just fine,
right?
The way it is.
Yeah.
I had an interesting experience some years ago where I had some clients flying in from China, as it turned out, and we were driving down to Terranea to have lunch, and we drove by the City Hall site, and they were actually very impressed with our City Hall site, which I found a little surprising, given that it's a World War II Army barracks. But what they said was the difference that they found refreshing is that they said in China, the most spectacular buildings in any community are the government buildings. Everybody else lives in less than that. And they found it very refreshing to see that the actual local government buildings were arguably the least attractive.
Exactly. Well, they were barracks,
buildings
right?
in the community. Now, I mean, being a former Army guy, I mean, I look at barracks and they don't look so bad to me. But
yeah,
but
exactly.
I also understand that the average person.
You go to bed with your boots on,
right?
Brian. We know that.
The average person out there doesn't look at it through the same filter that I've got. So, but getting back to your question, I think collaboration again is going to be a big theme of mine this coming year as mayor, and the more we talk with the community, the more involvement we get. We've also got to look at the collateral impacts of whatever it is that we do. If you, for example, rebuild the City Hall site and turn it into a massive entertainment center, with pools and gymnasiums and things like this, what's that going to do from the noise factor? What's that going to do from a traffic issue? What's that going to do from a crime issue, if any? All those things need to be studied, and we need to be very careful, I believe, in how we go forward to it. And then something that's been missing from the conversation so far is where's the money going to come from? And I think it's a pipe dream to think that the federal government or there's going to be some state grant or something that's going to come in and fund this. I mean, the fact is, by comparison, we may not always feel this way, but by comparison, we're a very wealthy community compared to the rest of the state. Although everybody I know in this community works very, very hard to live here. That's how we're looked at. So I think the money to do any of these projects, by and large, is going to have to come internally. And will our 43,000 residents feel that that's a good investment to make? Are they willing to pay a fee or higher taxes or float a bond or something like that?
So you see this coming up a lot during the coming year, though, this particular topic?
I see it as a multi-year progress.
Right,
I mean, this is something that's been on the books since long before I was on council, and this is my 8th year on council. I see it's something that is that's going to continue to be a discussion. You also have to overlay the changes in technology and people's expectations from government services. There's some cities out there that are pushing their services away from being all consolidated into just one building. They're pushing it out on the cloud, and planning people may be hundreds of miles away. We may be outsourcing some of that, some of that work. So we've got to look at what technology changes are going to be before we go build a 100-year project that may not work for us 10 years down the road.
Right. Talking about not a 100-year project, but the Portuguese Bend landslide issue has been discussed for 50 years, right, in this community. It's gone on for a long time. But for some reason, I don't know where this council seems to be putting more energy in behind it, but it feels like maybe there's going to be a shift and possibly to try to resolve that. I mean, I know I live on PV Drive South, and my kids love driving the bumpy road, but to someday see that is fixed, and I don't know what the solution is. I'm not an engineer, but what do you think? I know they're having a landslide moratorium. I'm having a Portuguese Bend landslide workshops and things coming up. Get the community involved. What do you think needs to happen, or what's the council direction?
Well, first off, it's not all bad news in regards to the Portuguese Bend slide. In that I mean the experts have told me that if we simply do nothing, in about 250 years it'll resolve itself. So,
is my house going?
no, that actually is true. That actually is true. Obviously, we don't want to wait 250 years to just take care of itself. But as again, talking about technology and employing it in how we approach things as city government is something I'm always trying to stay on the leading edge of. And as technology advances in our ability to look at these issues and see what's really going on underneath the ground. If you take a look at the landslide over there, it's not just one landslide, it's multiple different landslides, and different components of it are moving at different speeds. There's also, depending on which experts you talk to, different theories as to how best to address it. There's people that believe an underwater breakwall off the toe of the landslide, the toe being where it enters the water, is the solution. There's others that feel that dewatering wells, which certainly have had a positive impact, are the solution. I think it's going to be a combination of a lot of those different issues. At the end of the day, we may just be able to slow it down quite a bit and lessen its negative impact on the community, but we'll find out. One thing that makes this job on council, I think, very interesting and a lot of fun is that I get an opportunity to meet experts in various different fields that I would not otherwise run into. And one thing that RPV has in great abundance is tremendous experts in in geophysical issues and or technology issues, or for example, our new wireless master plan that we just passed to help protect us from the proliferation of all the antennas going up around town and make them disappear back into the background. We've had so much great help from residents who are experts in this field, and the more we collaborate with them, to go back to that theme, the more we collaborate with them, the better results that we get. So I see these public meetings, in this case regarding Portuguese Bend, being great opportunities to draw in that expertise, which will help us ultimately make better decisions.
Well, we'll stay tuned with that. As we're sitting here at Trump National, it's lunchtime just about here, and so we just have a few minutes left so that we can wrap up. I'm excited to hear just a little bit more from you, as you've been a few months now as mayor. How is it going for you, and just any special mayor's announcements you might have. And we know that the community can see you twice a month for sure on city council meetings, first and third Tuesdays of the month.
Well, first and foremost always is public safety to me. The second is focusing on the semi-rural environment. I mean, we hear this a lot from people in the community, but that is the reason that my wife and I moved here almost 20 years ago. I mean, both of our children have been born here. I mean, they're growing up in this environment. I really do treasure it. I mean, I came from Colorado originally as I grew up there. I appreciate the fact that we've got these wide open spaces and these incredible views out there. We probably have some of the cleanest air in the West Coast that we're able to breathe here in the Palos Verdes Peninsula because we stick out into the ocean. So preserving that is very important to me. This coming year, I would like to have us work on reestablishing the working relationship and the trust that's so important with some of our neighboring agencies, like our school district, like community organizations, like AYSO, Neighborhood Watch, homeowners associations, the Land Conservancy. All of these organizations, be they public or private or ad hoc, are extremely important for us to have a high degree of trust in each other, and that then spills out into a friendlier, kinder,
more responsive,
more responsive, more responsive government. I mean, I really do enjoy this job. I always have. I'm going to be termed out at the end of this year. It's going to be time for somebody else to take my spot. But I have thoroughly enjoyed my time on council, and hopefully I've done a few things to help move us in the right direction. But I love meeting people and getting input and listening to them, and having that change my viewpoint very, very often, which allows me to do a better job on council.
Right. If you would describe the quality of life right now in RPV, you gave it a report card. You get an A, or I mean, are you pleased with where we are as a city and a community? I know we could always do better, but
well, yes, you can always do better, and I don't want to really go that way, because I'd rather compare our lifestyle, the quality of life here in RPV, compared to what our alternatives are. We've talked about this. There's nowhere else I would live. It wouldn't matter what sort of financial restraints were removed or anything. I've lived overseas a number of different times. I've traveled to almost 50 different countries around the world. I've had an opportunity to go to 47 different states in the United States. I mean, I've been around a lot, both as a child, as a student, serving in the military, my government job. I've been to every continent except Antarctica, and there's no place else I'd rather live right now and have my children grow up.
There's a reason why Susan Brooks calls it paradise. We'll give it to her.
It is close enough. We'll give it to her.
There you go. We're going to wrap this up, this edition of RPV City Talk. It's so great to be here with Mayor Brian Campbell. We're going to have you on every month, and you'll just update the residents on just the issues and events before you and what you're voting on. And I appreciate, again, what you do for the community.
Well, I appreciate what you do for the community and your great crew out there right now. So it really is a pleasure, and I enjoy these sorts of talks.
Thank you. Okay, again, that'll do it. I'm Liz Brown Swanson with RPV City Talk. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.